Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and in this video we're breaking down Predator Badlands. Badlands is the third film in the long-running franchise to be directed by Dan Trachtenberg, and those previous works were of course 2020 streaming release Prey and this year's animated anthology Predator Killer of Killers. Badlands actually brings the Predator franchise back to cinemas for the first time since 2018, where you might remember there was the fantastic movie The Predator. This film also hopes to capture a whole new audience with the franchise, and it's setting out as its first PG-13 film. Or 12A if you're British, mate, stand up. Today though, we're going to be going through the film's ending and what it might mean for future installments. We will be doing a more in-depth breakdown when the film releases digitally, and I can sit down and pause the film and basically go through all the hidden details. So make sure you subscribe for that. Obviously though, heavy spoilers ahead, and with that out of the way, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get on with the hunt.
Many of your kind have come here. None have survived.
Okay, so legend states that Dan Trachtenberg first made moves to join the Predator franchise back in 2018 during production on The Predator. Development on what would eventually become Prey remained under the radar until November 2020 when news broke of it being in development. 1 year later it was confirmed that Prey would be released mid-2022 as a streaming exclusive. Though I really wish it had been released in the cinemas, it was an instant hit and critics praised Trachtenberg for his strong direction, character development and a deep understanding of the franchise's DNA as being a science fiction action thriller blending violence with tension and elements of horror. No notes. Speaking on future plans for the franchise, Trachtenberg noted his intention was to do things that have not been done before. But little did fans know at the time just how far those intentions could lead the Predator franchise. Killer of Killers was then released on June 6, 2025. It tells the story of three human heroes, each from different periods of history, who come into contact with a hunter from the Yautja species. The three come together in the final chapter of the story for a fight to the death on Yautja Prime, eventually leading to a cliffhanger ending which is littered with cameos from across the franchise. These were even updated recently, much to my dismay, because I still get comments on the Ending Explained video like, how come you missed this at the end? It's like, because they didn't have it back then. But yeah, all that aside, I was actually surprised that this film didn't build towards what's coming down the line. At least so we think. I do believe that it will tie in with the Killer of Killers sequel, but I'll give my theories on that as we head more towards a section about the ending. Now this film was first announced in February 2024 and Trachtenberg said he'd be working alongside Patrick Asen. He was the writer of Prey and they'd be coming together for this movie titled Badlands. Now the film draws heavily on the expanded universe of the Predator franchise, including its 30-year publication history with Dark Horse Comics. Trachtenberg promised a self-contained story though, and this aims to focus heavily on the culture of the Yautja species. The franchise is over 38 years old now, and this is the first time in history that a Yautja has been the main character. Drawing on those comic books and movies like Avatar for inspiration, the production teams expanded on glimpses from the previous movie to create an entire written and verbal language for the Yautja, which is something which will undoubtedly benefit the franchise moving forward. It also allows this movie to do something unprecedented by having portions of the story feature dialogue entirely in the Yautja language with only subtitles being used. As for the story, this focuses on Dek, who's played by Demetrius Schuster Kolomantangi. Sorry for butchering your name there. Dek is a young Yautjan, and at the beginning, he's considered the runt of the clan. The movie opens on Yautja Prime as Dek's engaged in a hunt with his brother Kui. After a brutal showdown, the two are confronted by their father Nyor, and his true intentions are revealed. Turns out that Kui was actually supposed to kill his brother, which would keep in the traditions of their people. Dek pleads to be allowed to go on a solo hunt, and this is something that will prove his worth to his father. Unfortunately, this is to no avail though. With Kui unable to do the deed, Dek escapes on a revenge mission, which leads him to the planet Genna. Crash landing there, Dek quickly finds he isn't alone. In his hunt for the deadly Callus, he finds himself opposite an exploration party sent by Weyland-Yutani. The planet is an absolute nightmare, and there's lots of lethal flora and fauna, and yes, I did say Weyland-Yutani. You heard me correctly. The corporation is of course known for its dominance in the Alien franchise and its venture to Genna in search of a living specimen of the predatorial beast. But unlike the kind of crews we've seen in any of the Alien movies, this is made up entirely of synths. And after seeing some of the morons across the entire Alien franchise, I can completely understand. There isn't one human in the bunch, and this is despite the fact that Weyland-Yutani synths have been I've had a bit of a knack for malfunctioning, but yeah, still better than some of the idiots in the past. Do not stick your fucking face in an egg, mate. Now, this I think probably helped knock the age rating down, as when you've got aliens and robots, it isn't seen as being gory. Which is why, like, you can have Thanos being beheaded in Endgame and then all the Chitauri getting ripped apart in Avengers and no one really cares. I know people, have dinged the movie for being PG-13, but honestly, I don't know if it really made a difference. Now, the synths are led by Thea and Tessa, who are both played by Elle Fanning. They are quote-unquote twins, but they're not necessarily sisters. Their depiction, though, it's used as a plot device on which Trachtenberg can hang the found family metaphor. In Badlands' second major departure for its depiction of Weyland-Yutani, these two both seem to have the ability to produce human emotions, rather than just simulated ones. Their sentience seems to be beyond that of Ash, Bishop, Cole, and David. It's explained that Mother imbued them with these traits to make them better callous cunters. How wrong Mother was. Now, if you came to Predator Badlands expecting to see Weyland-Yutani secretly hunting a xenomorph, then prepare for disappointment. There isn't a single xenomorph in sight. Not even a hint. Which is a shame, because I remember they gave an interview a while back saying they'd do an Alien vs Predator movie eventually, but they wouldn't tell you it was one, and you'd get a big surprise in the movie. They said something along the lines of like, we want you to be watching the film, a predator comes along and then a xenomorph drops down, and oh shit, we're an Alien versus Predator. Which obviously had people like me, when they were talking about what they were doing in this movie, thinking, yeah, there must be a xenomorph in there somewhere. But 'twasn't meant to be. Trachtenberg sticks to his guns and making Badlands an entirely standalone piece, right down to its final frame, which we'll talk more about in just a bit. Firstly though, just a quick word from our sponsors, and then we'll get into the rest of the video. This video is brought to you by Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus. Dive into the epic Warhammer 40,000 universe with Tacticus, which is a thrilling turn-based strategy game packed with intense tactical battles and skirmishes. Command over 90 champions from 20 iconic factions, leading them to victory in fast-paced campaigns where your strategic skills make all the difference. Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus allows you to play anywhere, anytime, right from your phone. There's engaging PvE campaigns, competitive live events, guild raids, and a lot more. Officially licensed by Games Workshop, Tacticus launched in August 2022 and has since become a favourite for both veteran fans and newcomers alike. Because of this, there's a vibrant community of players that you'll be able to test yourself against. If you've been following the channel for a while, then you'll know we gave them a shout out last Grotmas, where they launched Red Gobbo. Beyond that, they're constantly adding new things to the game that make every week fresh and unique. Download Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus today using the link in the description and enter the code NOV25HELLO for 50 Blackstone and 20 energy. This offer is valid until the end of November, so don't wait, grab your rewards and start battling now. Now, to dive into the ending of Predator Badlands, we first need to understand what it is that Trachtenberg was trying to achieve with this film. As we mentioned, this is the first film in the franchise with a 12A rating, or PG-13 if you're in the US. Again, this was achieved by removing the human aspects of the film and replacing it with purely synthetic or alien kills. Without a drop of red blood in sight, Trachtenberg's able to sidestep comprising the ferocity of the Oucher whilst bringing their story to a much broader audience. Badlands is easily the biggest swing this franchise has ever taken, and this is also beyond the age rating. They kind of remove a lot of the tension that underpinned the previous movies and replace it with a family-friendly adventure, which some fans definitely won't like. It definitely feels like it has been Disneyfied, and it borders on Mandalorian-esque style scenes with elements of humour. Then doubles down on this aesthetic with the inclusion of Bud, who's a baby Kalisk, infinitely cuddlier and cuter than its apex predator mother. I can see this rubbing a lot of people the wrong way, and everyone's mileage is probably going to vary. Like when I was a kid, I remember people complaining about the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi. Because I was a kid, I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Ewoks are great. But yeah, I remember lots of 30-year-olds were like telling me, George ruined Star Wars, Empire and A New Hope are great, and Return of the Jedi went too far. And then when I got older, it was like the same thing with Jar Jar Binks, but I know loads of people who were kids then who think Jar Jar Binks is the greatest. But yeah, Predator is obviously, a very, very gory franchise with lots of nasty things going on in it. People getting skinned, hung up as trophies, people getting cut in half and stuff, stabbed to death, shot till the head blows off, that sort of thing. So I do wonder if there's going to be similar reactions here. But yeah, beyond that, each of the film's characters who are brought together by the hunt, they have some kind of parental issue to deal with. This is what binds the group, and it gives Deck the family he doesn't have back home on Yautja Prime. I'm sure not everyone in the audience will be on board for an emo Yaochen dealing with daddy issues, but it's difficult to argue with how much it sets up the cultural dynamics of the Yaocha and feeds directly into the film's cliffhanger ending. Now, I don't know if I'm spoiling it by saying that they do get the Kalisk, and yeah, I'm sure you could have guessed that from the very first trailer. That's killed by Tessa, and thus Deck embraces Bud, who's kind of a mirror of him and distance from his family. During this, Thea has also had her legs repaired and is now once more whole. Where things alter though is when the action shifts back to Yaocha Prime in order to tie up Deck's arc. Or so we think. Arriving back at Daddy Nuo's compound, Deck is immediately keen to show off his newfound prowess as a fighter. Basically, he's here to claim his birthright as a predator. It leads to another brutal showdown though, which illustrates Trachtenberg's infatuation with their savage nature. Just as we saw in Prey Killer of Killers, he nails every blow. Deck goes up against his dad, and in killing him, it casts aside his old family in favour of his new one. With Nuo dispatched, Deck claims his place amongst the Grand Hunters of the Yaocha. This then gives him the Predator's traditional invisibility tech in the process, but Deck is a Yaocha forever changed by his experiences on Genna. In this moment, with his found family of Thea and Bud by his side, he rejects tradition rather than taking his place at the head of the family. Trachtenberg paints the moment as a victory for Deck and the culmination of his journey of self-discovery. But then, with victory in his grasp, the scene shifts. A fleet of ships looms over the watery horizon of Yaocha as Thea asks who might be leading them. "It's my mother," proclaims Deck, which is when we fade to black. End credits. That's right. Despite proudly exhibiting bountiful connections to the Alien universe, as well as coming from the director of Killer of Killers, Predator Badlands shuns all connectivity. Instead, it chooses to end the arc as it began, with a theme of family. But yeah, there's no connection to the fleet of ships heading off-world at the end of Killer of Killers in pursuit of Torres and Kenji, no hint that Whale and Utani may have been hiding a xenomorph or searching for one. Their forces are also seemingly not coming after this now rogue Cynthia, and there's not even a hint of the Yaocha's suspended animation tech, which warranted so many Easter eggs tying together Trachtenberg's Predator storytelling so far. It appears those claims of Badlands as a standalone story were indeed correct after all, and we get no mid or post-credit scene. Now, longtime fans of the Predator movies may be left somewhat confused by this final moment. What could Mummy Dearest want with her victorious son? Well, if you've delved into the world of those Dark Horse comics or any of the extended universe storytelling, then you'll know that the Yaocha are a matriarchal society. Whilst clan leaders like Nyor rule in off-world affairs, it's the matriarchs who rule over Yaocha Prime. The males tend to go off and do the hunting, while they remain home and govern. So it's possible that she sees her son Deck as someone who's disrupting the order and going against what she's decreed. I think that Deck will stand up to this though, and having shown that he's not really part of the clan, that they will likely have plans for him. Perhaps he will even be taken by her and have to prove his worth in a Killer of Killer tournaments. I think due to us sort of relating to him that he'd be a great person to have in the games, and we could then have the likes of Naru, Mike Harrigan and Dutch working alongside Deck. As we know, empires are often taken down from within, and I could see Deck mounting up a revolution from the games. This could give us something like the movie Gladiator, where he overthrows the rulers to usher in something else. Perhaps he could even take up the throne himself and become the Predator of Predators. Now, there's also the possibility that his mother's just blown away that he's basically the runt, has come in, killed the dad, done so much stuff, got the Callus, got united since, everything and everything. However, she might want more tests for him, and I do feel like either way, if she embraces him, if she rejects him, there's gonna be more hunting to test the character's might. What it does tell us in the end though is that Trachtenberg's eager to bring even more of the Yaocha culture to the big screen. Tying back a bit to that earlier theory with Deck having just offed his dad, we're also sure that his mum won't be too happy to see the runt of her litter as its sole surviving member. It's likely that she ordered Niao and Kui to kill Deck and was coming to clean up the mess made at the beginning of Badlands. Should the film do well at the box office, which is something it's currently predicted to do, it's likely that any sequel will stay grounded on Yaocha Prime and dive further into their cultural traditions. But yeah, I do feel like we're going to see Trachtenberg making narrative connections and pulling together the plot threads which ran through Prey and Killer of Killers. Setting up Naru, having Killer of Killers establish the games, having Badlands, and then bring it all together is the way I think they're going to go. And I do feel like we're going to see an even bigger game on Yaocha Prime. But yeah, if you go back to our videos from like the start of the year, we've always been theorizing that this was the grand plan. Pretty much since the start, I think I said we're going to have like an Avengers level team up where we get every single character who's spread across all the movies bring them together for one big final tournament, and then that'll be the killer of Predator of Predators. And yeah, when they updated that post-credit scene at the end of Killer of Killers, in my head I was like, they're confirming it, another theory time right. But yeah, whether that happens or not, we really don't know, and the ending is kind of ambiguous, so if you have a totally different theory, you've heard something else, they've updated the post-credit scene since we made this video, let me know below, as I'd love to hear your thoughts. But yeah, have you seen the film? Did you enjoy this more crowd-pleasing take on the Predator lore? Did you not like it? Comment below, drop a like, and yeah, thanks for checking out the video. Huge shout out to Neil Vag as well for going through this script with me and making sure we had all the behind the scenes info on the production down pat as well. If you want to check him out and also his website, then make sure you go and check out Get Your Comic On. I've left a link to that in the description below, and if you want to follow us on Instagram, make sure you check us out at Heavy Spoilers. Did you know as well that members of the channel also get early access to videos like this every single week? If you click the join button, you get at least one breakdown a week before anyone else, and it costs just 99 cents a month, which hopefully isn't a lot to you, but if a lot of you do it, it means so much to us, so thank you. Also, if you want to get your hands on some of the Heavy Spoilers merch behind me, we've got our t-shirt line linked below, where we've got loads of stuff from Predator, Aliens, Welcome to Derry we're doing at the moment, Gen V, everything that you could want, yeah, it's probably down there. Now, if you want something else to watch, we've got a breakdown on screen right now, and we have recently just done Aliens vs Predator Requiem. What do you mean that movie's terrible? What do you mean you haven't seen it? Well, I haven't seen it either, mate, and I watched the whole thing because it's so fucking dark. But yeah, I'd love to see you over there. Quite a fun video. We're just taking the mick out of the movie for most of it, but also pointing out some of the greater lore and Predator Easter eggs laced throughout. If not, though, thank you for sticking through this video. I've been your host, Paul. You've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.